It's that time of year again. The Apple Rumour Mill has started. The phone that's expected to be announced in September and launched in October. Everybody thinks they know what's coming. But do they? Do they really? Neal had a great ride up on the site recently, and myself and Dean have been trawling the internet to bring you all of the best rumours, bullshit, lies and potential truths from the new iPhone 11 and 11X Max. But before we get into that, if your business is looking for a bit of a rebranding, you're not sure if you're getting the most out of your creative image, then talk to Get Funky. They're the Portlaoise-based design agency that will show you how being more creative can help your bank balance. Speaking of bank balance, let's talk about Apple. Good luck. Cool. Dean, it's that time of year again. Apple.
Yes, one of my favourite times of year when the Apple Rumour Mill starts to really ramp up and we get
It's
prepared.
like the transfer window but for phones.
Yeah.
Rumours galore.
Yeah, I think it's usually September, October when they release.
Announced in September, release in October.
Yeah.
Right in time for Christmas at max pricing.
Exactly, max pricing.
Go on, I said.
Yeah, so this year... So this episode is predominantly going to be about the new iPhone coming out. So this year...
Can we stick with like the transfer, kind of like Sky Sports transfer rumours thing?
Rumour has it, this year the new iPhone is going to be called the 11R.
Breaking news.
Yeah, so yeah, the rumour has it anyway. We'll get the most basic rumour of all. It will possibly be called the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11R and the iPhone 11 Max. As we know, last year and the year before, we had the 10 or the iPhone X, whichever way you want to put it. We had the 10, we had the 10R and the 10 Max. So now that they've gotten that, they've gone from the S models onto R, it seems, which I don't really like. I think S sounds a bit more
the R
sleeker.
kind of, to be honest with you, for me, I think the R models are almost closer to the iPhone 5Cs. The C range, which is like a stripped back version of the higher tier phones. They're about €300 cheaper.
No.
And it outsold the other two models completely last year.
No, actually, you're right. Last year it was the 10S and the 10S Max, yeah. So, yeah, the 11R, the 10R and the 10RS were stripped back versions. But there were still the 11 or the 10R. Sorry, I keep getting mixed up.
XR. Would you make it just XR?
The XR last year was one of Apple's highest selling iPhones, and it got rave reviews. I mean, like
but it outsold the other two models combined.
Huh?
It outsold the other two models combined last
and that's
year.
because of the outrageous pricing.
Well, it's an iPhone, €300 cheaper.
Yeah,
and they're not that far removed. Like generally speaking, what you're giving up is maybe one of the lenses in the camera, a little bit of the software in the camera, slightly weaker battery, slightly degraded screen, and the quality of the finish isn't quite as premium.
You can get more colours and that kind of thing.
They give you other things in return. Like you get a bit more colour. It's an iPhone at a slightly cheaper price. So
yeah, and it's still very highly functioning iPhone. It's not like the 5C where the 5C was crap. Basically.
Yeah, I'm just using it as a kind of.
Yeah,
it's a lower price
leftover
entry
iPhone
point.
5s that they threw into a piece of plastic because it was cheaper.
It's
to
a cheaper
manufacture.
entry point to get people using Apple because, to be fair, over the last few years with how well Android has done, they need to do something to try to get people.
So they've been knocked down to third place now and that's been like that for a couple of years behind Huawei and Samsung.
Yeah,
Huawei are Huawei? No, they're still number 2. Are they? And Samsung are number 1.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So Apple, the pricing hasn't helped.
The pricing has not helped.
The pricing and even Tim Cook came out a couple of months ago and he actually said that like CEOs of companies need to have a look at the pricing of some of the products they're coming out with because it's destroying the market. And he is predominantly he's the worst. Like we saw the new.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I've shit on Apples for years, but in terms of just straight up design, they're gorgeous.
Oh yeah, they're lovely phones.
They're some of the nicest looking phones, some of the nicest finished phones. They really are nice looking devices.
They look premium,
and the software is built to be as simplistic as possible. Android has caught up in both of those aspects, I think, but it's got to a point now where the competitors have gotten to the level that Apple can no longer justify having that premium pricing when everybody else is giving premium products now too.
Yeah, I mean, I got my Huawei. Well, I got it on contract,
The
but the
Samsung 10
Huawei.
is stunning.
How much is that? The Huawei
It's about 700.
P30 Pro is $1,000. Okay, so like that, but that's for the most premium phone.
Yeah.
For the 10s Max, I think you were looking at about $1,350, just prepaid pay as you go.
Yeah.
Which is scandalous. A scandalous price for something that fits in the palm of your hand. Now, we know the power and everything is amazing, and like the camera and the about the security that Apple put into their phone is great, but it still just doesn't. It's not justifiable to charge someone that much for a phone.
But having said that, Apple still are one of the best, or well, definitely one of the biggest companies in the world, some of the best phones in the world.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it comes down to personal preference, because for me, the reason why I will never switch to Apple is just, I think over the last few years that the thing that made them stand out was their innovation, and that just seems to have just vanished.
They kind of seem to be using other companies as like a testing platform. For example, with what have we got? Well, wireless charging, a new feature that we're seeing in the phone. These in the next release, hopefully. Rumors.
That was the Samsung initial from a couple of years ago. Jesus, the S8 had the charging plate.
Yeah.
So we're talking 3 renditions ago that Samsung brought in the charging, and Apple are only doing it, are rumored to be doing it this year in the 11.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Other things that Apple are way behind on in the new iOS 13, they finally brought out a swipeable keyboard, or what is it? What's it called? Do you know, where you can type by swiping on your phone without?
Oh, like the haptic feedback, taptic engines and shit like that.
No. I mean, to know when you're typing on your phone and you
just
swiping.
like the tracking thing. Yeah.
That's been on Android for the better part of a decade.
Has that happened on iPhones?
But they have it on the new iOS 13.
I haven't picked up an iPhone in that long.
Yeah, new iOS 13. They also finally brought in dark mode, which is another feature that's been on Android for
they brought in dark mode.
How long? 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. So yeah, they definitely like that dark mode and swiping. Like, like that's not.
They're little
innovation.
things, but they make a difference.
Yeah, that's not innovation, but it's things that like people that is stopping people like yourself from switching from Android to Apple, on top of a lot of other things, like being able to download unauthorized apps and
straight up, I look at the first thing I'm looking at is the price. So if I was to take the S10 versus the iPhone equivalent, the iPhone is €200 cheaper. Now I'm going to look at the next tiers. The battery on the Samsung is better in term. Now maybe the Apple one is using their chip is probably better, which is maximizing the battery output, blah blah blah. But if you're the type of person who's going to the shop and just looking at the numbers, the other competitors win across the board.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people don't like. I would say most people aren't like us. They're not tech heads, they don't look into why they're actually buying a phone. Some people just like Apple and they like to be seen with the latest Apple product, so they'll like fork out the bunch of $1,000 for it. If they want to spend the money that way, that's fine. If they go to basically use the phone the same way they use their previous phone, just taking pictures to put on Instagram and going on Facebook and stuff, and they want to pay that kind of money, fine. But if you're like us, who want to see what we can actually do on the phone and what we can do differently that we can't do on the likes of an Apple, that's when price comes into it, because I can do a lot more on my Huawei, and I'm a big fan of Apple. I can do so much more.
You've been on Apple phones since...
I've gone back and forth, to be fair. When I started off in Carphone,
you switched to the... Jesus, you switched to a Sony
Z5.
No.
Z3?
Z3. Z3. You lasted 2 days on that. You switched back to your iPhone. Then you got the HTC M8, which was, for both of us, still one of the best phones we've ever owned.
Yeah.
And then you switched back to iPhone. You were stuck with them up until the Note. The Note? Was it the Note you had? No,
I never went on. I went on to the Z5. I became a Sony ambassador.
Z5, yeah.
Went
and then you went back to Apple
which I loved.
now.
Which I loved. No, I went back. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then a couple of years ago, I went on to the iPhone 7, and now I'm back on Android again with the Huawei. But I like change. I get bored. I get bored with phones.
You're one of those now, because obviously we have Neal, who wrote a stunning article on the site with covering all of the rumors, from the chip to the camera. But he's never used a phone that's not an iPhone.
Yeah, exactly. So like for what Neal needs out of his phone, he's become accustomed to using Apple
he loves his iPhones, loves his Apple products. And to be fair, there's some people that really do love their stuff, because I don't know if you ever met Richie.
No.
Richie's one of the lads up and down now, Martin and Gary and the boys would know him, and one of the biggest Apple heads you'll ever meet. What is it? Shite Song, as he calls him.
Shite, son.
Yeah, he won't buy Samsung. That's and like this was I worked with him in the phone shops, and he just was like, nah, they're shite, son.
Yeah, no, to be fair with myself, I will never ever own a Samsung. And it's not because Samsung phones, I don't find them good. They're brilliant. They're the top selling phone manufacturer in the world for a reason. But them and Apple just have had a rivalry since who knows how long, the past 10 or 15 years.
10 years.
And
if even.
as much, yeah, but since smartphones have
Yeah,
come out,
10 years.
I just won't use a Samsung. If it comes to Apple and Samsung, even though Samsung phones are probably better and I can do more with them, I just will not. But I will not give them my money. I just won't do it. I will give Apple my money before them.
Fair, no.
Yeah, I don't know why it's always been like that. In fact, when I was a child, my father used to always drive Mercedes, and for some reason I always saw Mercedes and BMW having a rivalry, which I don't think even exists. But I'll never buy a BMW. Never. Like, I just have this weird thing in my head, like, you know, like where I prefer one brand over another. I just will not buy the other brand.
But that's normal. Once you've kind of got, because I think
brand loyalty.
Brand loyalty. Yeah. But I think what Apple have done so well is they've got that emotional connection with their audience at such an early point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reason why we're seeing the likes of the XR now. Yeah. Because as the demographic gets older, they need to be getting the younger generation on, and with the way the pricing of smartphones has gone now, they need to have that earlier entry point so that Joe, I don't know, little Michael at 16 years old can have an iPhone that's not 1,400 euro.
Yeah.
So,
so I think obviously the 5C was the first low model phone that they brought out, and then
do you remember how much of a headache that was? 8 gigs.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Every month you'd have.
And this was at a time when like you needed more than 8 gigs. Like,
well, I think the minimum, Jesus, like 8 gigs on a phone was the equivalent of what the Huawei Y3s, the Samsung S3 minis, like €200 phones were offering at the time.
Yeah.
And that was a 400, and I think that was a €450 phone with that didn't have external memory.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 gigs of it was taken up with the operating software.
Yeah.
So you only actually had 5 usable
That's one thing
gigs.
that they don't mention.
Yeah.
In their advertising.
Actually, if we're going to borrow a blind boy phrase, there's a hot take.
What, that the companies aren't being 100% truthful?
If you get told you have 16 gigs, you don't.
Yeah.
You have probably around 12.
Yeah.
Which is still fine.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with the 5C was that it was 8, and so you had 5,
mm-hmm.
and once you started taking videos and stuff, we used to have customers coming in every fucking couple of weeks. It was like, why is my phone not working? Why is it slowing down? Why is the battery burning out? Yeah. And you'd look at it and you'd go, well, 98% of your memory is in videos.
Mm-hmm.
So let's delete some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on track, I suppose.
Yeah, we've gone off on a bit of a tangent. So will we go over what to expect from the new phones, and we'll have a chat about them.
Yeah. So 3 models. We've got the 11, the 11 Max, and the XR.
11R.
11R.
Yeah.
Sorry.
XR
was last year.
Yeah.
We're talking 5.5 or 5.8 inch display on the on the 11X.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a 6.5 inch on
11 Max
on the 11 Max, and a 6.1 on the 11R. But
Yeah.
the screen types are different. So the 2 normal models are using like OLED screens,
mm-hmm.
and the R is using an LCD Retina. Basically, that's, for in layman's terms, is the difference between HD and not.
Yeah, and as well, the battery on the bigger ones we'll take the 11 and the 11R, for example, because they'll be the same size with the same batteries. Your battery on the 11 will last faster or longer than the 11R, because if you have a black screen or any black areas on an OLED screen, it doesn't use any power.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas on the 11R, it's still, the LCD screen is still using bulbs to project
black,
exactly, which uses more power. So that's one reason why, if you find your
that's
11,
a cool technical little.
Yeah, that's it now. Which is and again baffles me why, like we were saying earlier on with Apple being behind the boat in technology, they didn't start using OLED screens until the iPhone 10, which was, how long has Samsung been using OLED? 5, 6, 7 years, maybe.
I don't know.
See, they developed their own OLED screens. That's where Apple actually get their screens from Samsung.
Yeah.
So I think that they finally just put their pride in the pocket and said, okay, Samsung, yeah, let's strike a deal.
Yeah. Well, look, to be fair, like any of the images that are coming out from the new iPhones, they look fairly similar to last year's models. But again, I don't think when we get to this is one of those rumors that I'm kind of like, I'm not 100% sold on. Like, every year when we see these rumours, probably 9 out of 10 are on the money. Fair?
Yeah.
I think the images that we're seeing aren't going to be 100% on the money. I don't think they're going to keep it that similar and just lob another camera into the lens, which is kind of how they look. I think there will be a little bit done.
Apple have been using this design. We'll go away from the fronted design, obviously, because the button's gone. But Apple have been using the kind of like glass finish on their phones now since
slick.
the 8. So you got the 8, you got the Skip 9, the 10, the 10S. So the past 3 years now, they've been using a similar enough design. So I would like to see a new design.
I think they will. I think you'll see some. I don't think it's going to be a million miles away, because realistically, all of their phones have transitioned quite slowly. The biggest jump they've done is from the 5 to the 6, where that's when they decided that the 5.1 inch screen wasn't going to hack it anymore, so they had to go bigger. But up to that point, they were refusing. Yeah, I think maybe that's where we're getting to again, where probably not this model, but the next model, where they'll do another radical rip around.
Yeah, I'd like to see them bring out a curved screen as well. Like, you know, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be like on the whole. Like,
why a curved screen when folding is going to be the next battleground? Because they never bothered.
The full screen
is it just aesthetic? Is it just gimmicky? Is it?
Well, no. I like on with the Samsung now. Like, they have the curved screen, but they can. I think they patented technology where you can actually
the edge.
The edge has, like, you know, different features you can use it. Whereas like with my Huawei, it has a curved screen, but it's just a curved screen that gives you more real estate on the front of the phone. I would like to see Apple come out with that, because especially watching YouTube videos, you could see a lot more, and it's just nice not to have that tiny 1mm bezel, like, to know, on the top and bottom, even though it is edge to edge. So I would like to see that come out. It's cheap to do. It will be cheap to do. It's not in the same ballpark, not even the same fucking country as foldable phones. And Apple are meant to be coming out with their own foldable phone, but that's probably 2 or 3 years down the line.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Like, the big place where they're making the improvement this year looks to be in the cameras, because they've been using dual lens for an awful long time.
I think since the 6S Plus, they've been
we're
using
obviously
dual
seeing
lens.
the likes of the Google Pixel, the Huawei. We're seeing triple lens seems to be the minimum.
Yeah,
and you're seeing the likes of, is it your Huawei there that has the quad?
Quad lens. Yeah. So I think it's all like what renders that we've seen online, and that a lot of
it's a triple
lens is that now. The
apart
triple
from
lens,
the R.
apart from the R, just seeing the and renders online, the flash is in the position where the third camera looks like it would be. So I reckon it's only going to have dual camera.
Yeah, that's one of the because what's happening is we don't know that the megapixel is necessarily increasing, but then Apple do have an awful lot of cool bits and pieces in terms of the like balancing, all the internal software, that if people just see the megapixel number, they're not necessarily getting an honest reflection of the picture quality.
From what I have seen, from what I saw online today, like, it's rumored that it's going to have as standard a normal camera, a telephoto camera, and an ultra wide camera. Yeah,
and the ultra wide is the new one that has autocorrect and.
So the telephoto and the standard camera, I think, are meant to be sticking with the same 12 megapixels that have been on the past couple of models.
Really? Okay.
I think the ultra wide is rumored to have a 14 megapixel, and they're going to have a 10 megapixel on the front camera as well. Then
I heard 12
on the telephoto as well.
On the front,
or the 12.
12 on the front, jumping from 7 to 12 on the front.
Yeah,
but then again, they do need to increase. Even if the quality isn't much better, they definitely need to increase just the number, because you're seeing some of the phones with like 20 megapixels. So, like, realistically, the front-facing camera is probably used more than the rear camera.
And the front-facing camera
for
on
90% of people.
I can't talk for the past couple of iPhones now, because I haven't owned the 10 or the 10S, but before that, the front-facing camera on the iPhones were not great. I remember using my Z5, like we were saying earlier on, a few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and the front camera was incredible. And it would be almost like a back camera. So Apple really needs to step up with the game with the front camera again.
I think they will.
Yeah, and like we said, like the Samsung, the Huawei now, who are the biggest competitors, their front cameras are immaculate as well. So they definitely need to step up. I
hate taking selfies now.
Yeah, because
there's just too much. There's too much detail.
Yeah,
I'm that's a grey hair. Fuck.
So camera aesthetically wise, it's rather ugly. It's a big. Like,
is it though?
It looks like a big inch by inch square on the back of your phone.
Well, what do you want them to do? It looks like it makes it kind of look
Well,
like
you
an
could
actual
do-
camera.
Well, no, you could. It's yeah, but still, I mean, like it looks like, and there's also going to be a camera bump apparently as well, which I mean, it just make it a tiny bit thicker. People aren't going to notice
what
to
the
get rid of
camera bump, like that it lifts up slightly for the camera spot.
Yeah,
I don't mind that because everybody's putting on a case anyway. And if you put on a shitty
Yeah.
case, all you're going to get, for example, if they didn't have that lift and you
Mm.
put like a pink case in it, then all your photos are going to have like a surrounding slightly pink hue.
yeah, no, that's
So
fair, yeah.
I actually think that's a smart move because how many people go caseless?
Yeah, no one does.
If you're not
yeah, I
going
suppose if you've got a nice black case for your phone now, you know, like that big camera, the big square, it wouldn't
it just
look too
fades
bad.
right in.
But like just as the phone by itself, I don't know. I don't really like it, but when it comes out, like we might see when you actually have it in your hand. you know,
I
it'll
think
tell a different
I think
story.
you're the exact person that when you see it, you're just going to be like, oh. I
I'll be
like-
straight into CompuB when it comes out anyway to see what it's like.
oh yeah,
So yeah, camera, big improvements on the camera coming.
we reckon.
I wonder now what the angle of the wide angle will be, because what on the Huawei I want to say it's 140 degrees, I think it is, the wide angle, so you get a lot in on it. It's got the widest angle, wide angle camera on the market at the moment. So I don't know. See
It's
what
so
Apple's
wide,
come out
it's
with.
almost horizontal.
Yes.
Imagine that. You can just switch the panoramic
Mm.
view and you don't actually have to do anything.
Mm.
It's just like panoramic photo, boom.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Instead of knitting 3 or 4 photos together. Because every time you do that, you get like half a bird.
Yeah.
Because things move and
You either get half a bird or one that is like 4 feet long. And
Yeah.
you're like, what the hell?
just
is going on?
something stretching like a monster across the sky.
So yeah, camera, big improvements to come. Next up, generally the processor. So every year, every phone has a new processor standard. Looks like it'll be the 813. The Bionic.
Yeah, when it comes to Apple and their process and stuff, to be honest with you, I haven't a notion.
Well, Apple.
Because they do their own stuff. They don't look at like the Snapdragons or any of that
Oh,
stuff.
no, they
This
do.
is all.
Yeah,
This is where Apple come into their own.
Yeah, to bring out. Well, to be fair, it's Samsung that actually developed their chips. Like,
Oh,
but
really? Oh.
Samsung made their chips. But the funny thing is, Samsung made their chips, but with benchmark tests every single year, Apple are always miles ahead of the competitors in terms of power and that kind of thing. Now, we won't. The standard person, I don't even notice power. If you put a Samsung at an iPhone next to me and start flicking through apps and stuff, like to the naked eye, you wouldn't notice it. But yeah, they generally are streets ahead of the competitors in terms of performance. The A13 chip looks like it's going to be I don't know if it's going to be the A13 Bionic or something else, but yeah, it's coming. Not much more else to say on that, to be honest. Like, you know,
That's it.
yeah,
No, like, this is the thing. At this time of year, we're basically, trawling around, seeing what the rumors are, because the internet does go into hyper overdrive. You can see 5, 6, 7 different renditions of what the iPhone will look like, from the most ridiculous to probably the most obvious. And the key thing here is, like, some of these guesses might be just completely wrong.
yeah.
So, as I said at the start, it's very much like, Sky Sports transfer window. It's like, I don't know, you throw something out there that's mad. Like Lionel Messi is going to sign for Stoke.
Yeah.
Might happen. Chances are, though, maybe not.
Yeah.
But whereas with the camera, it's more something
It's right nearly.
that's happening, Joe.
Yeah,
It's
every year
guaranteed.
it's more or less
Maguire to United. It's like,
and you
done
only
deal.
have to look at like competitors, like, and see what they're doing to be able to kind of gauge what other companies are doing. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like you said, triple camera seems to be the standard nowadays.
Yeah.
In
Improvements with
next
the
year or
camera,
two, like,
improvements with the processor, improvements with the screen. Design probably won't change
Mm.
much. It's going to be mainly an under the hood
Yeah.
kind of upgrade as such.
Some things that we are losing, the 3D touch, which I'm pretty sure that we actually more or less lost last year.
I'm happy with that.
I like the 3D touch on my phone, but it's going to be replaced by long touch anyway, so you're not going to lose the gestures and actions.
Yeah,
that
you're going to
can
just
do.
get better haptic feedback, which is something that Android. This is where I shit on Apple. It's the same with their keypads for their laptops. They know it doesn't work, and they're stubborn. Like, we're
Yeah.
going to stick with it because it's our way.
Yeah.
And then this year they've kind of realized and gone, actually, yeah, the other guys did it better. Let's do
Yeah.
that. And they'll bring in, like, I don't know if you've ever used the keypad, Joe, like the Apple keypads. They're awful.
What do you mean for that you attach onto an iPad or something, or do you mean on a laptop?
Just any of them. The way the button
Oh yeah, no,
is different. And it's just
Yeah, no.
just no.
As
But they
soon as the
they
button
doubled
breaks, it's
down on
gone
that
back.
because they knew. Well, it was like, it saves space. Yeah, but it's shit.
Yeah, and that's what something that Apple is obsessed with, making everything smaller, even if
Apart from their bank balance.
which only seems to be constantly growing. So we're losing the 3D touch. Not gonna be not a massive loss. So like it's kind of a gimmick. So if you could still do the exact same thing that you could do with the 3D touch with just long touch, it doesn't
Is there
really
anything
matter.
like things like the security? Like, are they bringing in the fingerprint under the screen, or
That's
is that the
something
Face
that
ID
I
stuff
actually
again that
haven't
they're
thought
doubling
about.
down on?
Surely, I mean, like
I don't think so. I'd say they're going to go with.
I don't think they will either.
I think that this is one of these stubborn bollocks moves.
Yeah,
It's like, we've been doing Face ID.
yeah,
We're sticking with Face ID.
yeah.
And screw.
They might bring out the under screen fingerprint scanner next year or the year after. But I even though it seems to be the year of under screen fingerprint scanners. But yeah,
Agreed.
they seem to be a year behind everyone else. A couple of years ago, we had the
Are they
wireless
switching to
charging
the
on
USB-C,
phones.
or are they sticking to Lightning? Because that's been one of the rumors. That's been one of the big rumors for a couple of years now.
From some renders that have been released, it doesn't look like it.
It looks like Lightning again.
It looks like Lightning again. And like I don't know if they ever will even go USB-C.
I reckon they will. Like, eventually, surely.
Yeah, surely. I would like to see it. They went with USB-C
Do we
under
have a
laptops now, like under new Macs.
And the biggest debate. Well, it's not. Will we get Will we get the 3.5 headphone jack, or is that just
not
pissing in the wind and that's gone?
They are completely moved on from that. Even other companies are moving on from that. Samsung have realized that people still want to have a 3.5. See, think about Apple is that like they're a company for the people. So they want to give people what they want. Whereas Apple are like, we know we don't want this, or you don't want this, but we're going to put a spin in it and say that this other way works a lot better, so we're going to do it that way. That's what they said.
Which, don't get me wrong, the AirPods, I think, are cool. I think just the wireless Bluetooth, in-ear headphones are class, and they make such sense. And the fact that your little carry case makes it easier to carry. There's none of the tangling nonsense with wires that you have now when you take them out of your pocket and you're like, try to undo. I don't know where the knots come from. They just happen.
Yeah.
The battery life is obviously grand, and the carry case charges them, so that's another win. And it keeps the port free for charging. So, like, for that point, it's all wins.
It does. Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
The only problem with the AirPods and just those kind of in-ear wireless headphones is the fucking price is outrageous.
Yeah, I think the AirPods are 160 or 70 quid or something like that.
But there's other crowds anyway that you can buy, and we have articles on the site. Like, there's some stuff that's like down to 75 quid and stuff. So grand, that's fine. So I suppose it's just the upfront cost of transitioning over, isn't it?
Yeah. And is it really worth your money? I mean, like, since I've moved over to Huawei, what I love about it is that I got my Mob Draw. When the matches are on, I don't have to Sky Sports or anything at home. I have a smart telly, so I'm able to project what is on my screen onto my TV, so I can watch my matches no problem on my TV.
You
Mine
mean
being
you
HD,
allegedly have Mob Draw?
Allegedly. Yes.
Allegedly.
But even if that, like if you do have Sky Go or something, if you don't have Sky at home and you have a friend's Sky Go account or whatever, you can project it up onto TV and it works great. Can't do that with an Apple.
Oh, you have to go through the Apple TV then.
Yeah, you can do it on Apple TV if you have Apple TV, but sure, those things, again, they range from the ones of 150 to 300 quid.
Where's all your Apple love gone?
It's not that I don't love Apple. Like, when I had my iPhone, I was like, I want everything Apple. Like, and it's a very seamless ecosystem, and it works well together. But again, like I said, there's just some things I can do on the Android that I can't do on Apple. You know, like, we already had a smart TV, so I didn't have to go out and buy an Android box to project stuff from my TV or my phone onto the TV, you know. So
Apple's problem is that they're so
if you're willing to spend the money.
So Apple's problems are their price and that they're so closed off.
Yeah, but Apple have always marketed themselves as being a premium company, you know. So like, when you do see people who do have all Apple products, they have the Apple TV and they have all their smart bulbs and all that, you know, like, generally, like, you know, like, I wouldn't say well off, or, like, you know, you don't have to be rich to own Apple products, like, but, you know, they're able to afford them without breaking the bank or taking out a loan, you know.
They're not cheap.
Whereas, like, I mean, like, you could probably get Samsung, is it M series or Samsung the A series, Samsung A series, which is their like new A series are very good.
The
phones.
A9 is fucking cracking.
Amazing, like, for the price of it, like,
oh, cracking.
Yeah, you can
To be fair, that whole A series is basically
like maybe 2 years ago.
not even last year's flagship phones for €200 cheaper.
Yeah, yeah.
No brainers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like,
if you're the type of person who doesn't need the top shelf, cool.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why Samsung and Huawei are able to be above Apple. They have got more variety.
And as you said, the big thing, and I think consumers are a lot more aware of it now. It's the price, because as you said, I can get last year's. The A9 is essentially the exact same as last year's Samsung flagship phone, and we'll say, argument's sake, it's €600. Yeah. Last year's iPhone is still at €700.
Yeah.
So
no, from what
I can get a year-old phone or a phone that's out 2 months with better specs.
Yeah.
For less money, it's
more user friendly.
So unless you just have to have Apple,
Definitely
it just financially doesn't make sense.
Yeah. What I have heard about the iPhone, the new iPhone, is that
Neal's
the price is going to stay the same. Yeah. The price is going to stay the same as last year's models, so we probably will see a drop down in the 10S models. But yeah, you're still talking, I'd say for the 10S Max, you're still probably going to be looking at £1,300 for it. I think at the moment it's probably retailing for about 15 or so. But at least with the new models, because the past couple of years, with the newer models coming out, they've bumped the price up a good bit.
Have they?
Yeah. So at least we won't be seeing that this year, but it's still outrageous price to pay for a new phone. What else, Andrea? Apparently, no, this is another thing that Android have over Apple is their batteries. I don't know about the new Samsung phones, but on my Huawei P30 Pro, I can get 2 days out of the battery. Now, when I say 2 days, I mean I listen to my headphones 11 hours a day inside work, Bluetooth headphones, so Bluetooth is on at least, probably about 9 hours a day, I'd say, inside work. Use it when I get home, leave it turned on overnight, and use it the next day and have to charge it that night then. Apple has been notorious for having shit batteries in their phones compared to the Androids. Now, what I've heard this year, apparently, again, in the Rumour Mill, that basically in every phone there's a little thing. It's just called like a logic board. It's something that the chip fits into, and the chip fits on and basically makes the phone do what it does. Apparently this year, the simple change that they're making on it is they're turning it sideways instead of having it vertical. So they're turning it sideways, which is going to give a bit more room for a bigger battery. Now, I still don't think that Apple are going to be able to compare with Androids in terms of getting a day and a half or a full day out of your battery. But there's some people.
That's down to the a big part of that is down to like the battery saving technology, the software stuff.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, like I can tell you now with my the Pixel, the Google Pixel 3 XL that I'm using now, like if I'm down to the last 10% and I hop that onto the power save mode, my God, the thing just chunders along. It's like the little engine it doesn't want to die.
And as well, speaking of power,
when I was coming back from the Galway races, like I think it was at 1% for about an hour.
Yeah,
it just hung on. I was so proud.
Another thing as well, coming back to power and battery, is that they need to get on the fast charging train fast. How long is Samsung at fast charging? 3 years, probably. I can charge my Huawei P30 Pro to 70% in 30 minutes.
I think Sony were first on that.
Was it?
I think so.
I know that Sony brought out some kind of technology.
Sony have been first for a lot of things for a long time.
Yeah, they have been, yeah.
And if in doubt...
but waterproof phones, they were the first on that. Yeah,
yeah,
proper good waterproof, like, you know, where you could, like, not water resistant.
We used to throw that into it. The demo in the shop was they had
pitch, like.
Yeah, we used to have a tank of water in the shop and you throw it in and make a phone call.
Yeah.
Just to mindfuck people, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, not right. Entertainment value.
Yeah.
There's my number there. Give me a call.
But back then, like water was like
that was
proofing.
the new thing.
That was big thing. So yeah, Apple definitely need to get on fast charging this year, because the OnePlus 7 Pro OnePlus 7 Pro, the regular Samsungs have it. So yeah, if I'm able to charge my phone to 70% and get a full day out of it of full usage, whereas if I have the most expensive phone on the market, the Apple Max, and I need to carry around a power bank, you know, like that's another selling point that would make you want to go with Android over Apple.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Apple have probably one of the best marketing companies in the industry, like, so people will stay with them anyway. But it's just something that they need to like look at.
They're beautiful products. They are.
Yeah,
they are,
and they work well.
and if it's a style thing,
Yeah.
Up until probably the last year or so, it was very hard for anybody else to compete with just the sheer style that they're bringing to the table. Forget everything else. Forget your camera. Forget your specs. When you looked at an iPhone next to any other phone in the market up until probably a year ago, the iPhone was the one that you'd look at first to go, ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
I don't actually
shiny.
quite like the full screen on the iPhone. It comes back to what I said earlier on about getting the curved screen. I think just maybe the curved screen would just make it look a little bit more attractive. But I don't know what it is. I think that other companies just look a lot nicer with the curved screen than or with the bezel screen than Apple do.
It's an aesthetic thing. That's what I was saying in the last year or so. I think everybody else has started to bypass them, but up until
and Apple had big bezels, like
but up until this year, everybody like they were still the the pinnacle of the style side of things.
Yeah, yeah,
and that's only changing now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
like one thing that we saw change in other smartphones was maybe the size of the home button might go, instead of being like a circle, it would go to like a little, like it would go horizontal, give the screen a bit bigger. But Apple, the home button was basically, it was there since day one up until a couple of years ago.
That was your up until like at the bottom of your Android, you have technically you have 3 buttons.
At the bottom of the Android
on your display on your Android, technically you have 3 buttons. You have your back, you have your menu button, and you have your home button. Whereas that home button on the iPhone was essentially the central action point.
And it took up a lot of room then as well. Like as a result of it.
Is there any other rumors that we need to go through, or can we? Are we happy to bail it off?
So I think battery charging. Yeah, we're obviously going to have the new iOS 13.
Like, are you even excited about?
Well, I'd like to see wireless charging come in as well, because last year one of the big marketing things with them was that you'll be able to charge your Apple Watch, your iPhone, and your AirPods.
Oh, the bilateral charging, that's coming in this year. So we're hearing potentially.
Yeah, so I think it would be nice to see wireless charging and use obviously then being able to charge your AirPods and your Apple Watch on your iPhone,
which is what the P30 Pro did this year.
Yeah, I can charge an iPhone on my P30 Pro. Yeah. So I can't charge my P30 Pro and on an iPhone. So I'd like to see that come in.
That is one of the rumors. It is the rumors now. I think that's a safe rumor as well, because
I think it's
they were looking at the charging pad over the last couple of years.
Yeah, they were making a big deal out of the wireless charging when it first came out, being able to wireless charge the iPhone. Last year they made a big deal out of being able to charge the other products on the iPhone. So surely this year the next development for them is to be able to use your iPhone as a charger. But that's yet to be seen.
So to wrap this up, iPhone
11. What do we make of it?
Top 3 things that we think are going to happen, and one thing we think is definitely not going to happen from the rumors we've seen.
Definitely think are going to happen to almost definitely is triple camera. I think that's almost set in stone.
Yeah.
Another one that we think that we'll probably see, I think the wireless charging, I think we'll probably see it come in. I don't think we'll see fast charging come in for some reason. There hasn't been any rumors or any talk about it. I do think that we will see wireless charging come in on your iPhone. So
we're definitely saying the camera being triple. We're definitely saying that anyway. Yeah. Grand.
Definitely not going to happen. Don't think there's going to be any design changes to the screen.
You think it's going to look the same?
I think it's got, aside from the big square in the back, I think that's going to look the same, which is kind of a shame, because Apple generally every 2 years they would kind of change the design up a bit.
I'm going to go against you slightly.
You think to go change it?
I think the images that we're seeing now are not the final thing. I can't see it being that close to last year's phone. I do think there's going to be a style change, and the one I don't think that's going to happen is the USB-C, because I'm going to just take an easy out there. No, even though they brought it into Max 2 years ago, no, the lightning cable is like their baby, they just don't want to get rid of it. No, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and as well as they make more money off of being able to sell the Apple earphones that have the lightning jack, and they could off of.
And I hope we eat our words. I hope that they come out with an absolute cracker of a phone, something that can really, get them back to be in the top shelf because
Yeah.
it's nice for me to hate Apple, and it's very hard to do
Easy.
when they start dropping down the ladder.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also very easy for people to hate Apple, to give people a lot of reason to. I'd like to see a price reduction, but that's just not going to happen.
Right.
So yeah,
Let's wrap it up.
other than that, I think we can probably wrap it up. iPhone 11 coming out towards the end of this year. Keep an eye out in September for our write-up on the product when it is unveiled. And you can read that on Goosed.ie. You can also find us on Instagram on Goosed. You can find us on Twitter, Goosed_.ie, _IE I should say. And you can find us on Facebook for lots of content, exciting content. Where can you find us on the podcast?
The podcast is pretty much available everywhere. So we have it obviously on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much everywhere bar Acast.
And just
Because
to
they're
confirm to
awkward.
people, it's not Goosed. If you put in Goosed into your search engine for podcasts, you'll go get a lot of weird other podcasts. It is the Goosed podcast. That's the easiest way to find
Give
us.
us a rating, because
us a
the
rating,
more ratings
please.
we get, the easier it's going to be to find us going forward.
Yes, the higher rank it will be.
Give
in
us
the
the
Irish
old 5
charts.
stars, B sound.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a hug on the internet.
100%. Yeah. Okay, other than that, I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
Cheers, John.
Cool. Talk to you in a
Thanks,
while, bud.
people.